How's it going, everybody? So today I'm going to be talking about the new album from the band Rexoria, and the name of this album is Imperial Dawn. But y'all know it. Before I get into that nitty gritty, let's check out the cover. So boom, there it is. Take a look at that. Really, really cool cover. I dig it. You got this cool like emblem like front and center, and just all these like cool colors like kind of around the blues, and then you go, there's some like red up there, like almost like there's sparks, and it almost looks like down below too, like there's a web, or it's like a tunnel. I don't know, but within the logo you can almost see like the outside. It's some kind of like, it's almost like it's a machine, and this emblem is kind of like some sort of a maybe a key, or like a tram maybe that's like going outside. I don't know. It's very intriguing. Just the design of it. It's pretty cool looking, and it pops. Like I said, the way that that emblem is kind of there in the center, and then everything else is kind of around it. It definitely catches your eye and stands out. And it has a classic kind of look to it, also like a classic heavy metal kind of feel about it in a sense too. But and then just the way you have Rexoria up there and Imperial Dawn. But I think it does a good job of conveying the music that's within, because again, it looks like there's some kind of like machinery around, or something, but with the colors and the style, it definitely looks like it's some kind of like heavy metal, like power metal. But I'm trying to think, like with all the electronic vibes, or just the electronic parts in the album itself. I guess the machine pieces kind of help convey that a little bit too. So yeah, I dig it, both aesthetically, and I think it does a pretty good job of conveying. Like if you were just to buy the album based on the cover, and you throw it into the record player, CD player, or what have you, uh, would you be surprised by what you hear? I don't think so. You might be taken aback just by how much electronic kind of stuff is in there, but at the end of the day, I really do think this does a pretty good job of conveying what you get. 'Cause yeah. Anywho, so yeah, that's the cover. I dig it. I think it looks cool. But as far as the album itself, this bad boy's got what, 10 tracks on here, and it comes in at about 35 minutes. So this thing is quick. It's to the point. It does not beat around the bush here. They're not padding this thing out for extra songs or extra runtime or anything like that. All the songs are concise, and they all pack a punch. That's the thing here. Like it's a ride, and it's cool because again, it doesn't outstay its welcome. It's a good length, and by the time you're done with the album, you're like, whoa, man, wow, that was a ride. Let me jump back in and give this another listen, because that's exactly what I did. The first listen through is more of kind of like getting acclimated to the sound, and the vibe and stuff. And so you find yourself just being like, I gotta jump back in and give this another listen, and the more you listen to it, the more comfortable with it you get. And the more you're able to really focus in on a lot of the songs, and just the feeling of the whole album. Because like I say, once this album starts, it's just a ride all the way through to the end. And because it's so concise, it warrants multiple listens, because again, you kind of are left out of breath by the time the album's over. Like I remember the first time I listened to the whole thing and it ended, I was like, whew, lordy. I was like, man, this thing packs a punch. I got to jump back in here and try to digest all of this a little bit more. So the more and more you listen to it, the more you can even appreciate it. So yeah, I mean, what you're gonna get here is some really great melodic power metal with a heavy, 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 heavy dose of almost like kind of dance electronic vibes, with some pop kind of influences in there as well. And so everything is very powerful. Everything's very energetic, and it just you really, really get into it. And like I said, there's just so much energy behind all of these songs and behind the album. It's just, it's a ride, but it's popping. It is popping. And before I even get into it further, I will say anyone who is a fan of any of the singles that were released, you're not going to be disappointed here. You will not. And I had my expectations really high because especially as soon as the song Set Me on Fire was released, I was like, I can't wait for this album. My expectations are super high, but it does not disappoint. It has everything that you want it to have and then some. But so yeah, a heavy, heavy dose of like dance electronic. The keyboards here, phenomenal, phenomenal, just absolutely phenomenal. I just cannot overstate how sick the keyboards are and just the songwriting in general by being able to incorporate such heavy dance electronic beats and vibes, in with this kind of melodic power metal. It's just done beautifully, absolutely beautifully. And again, and it's so heavy on it in times that you would feel like maybe that it would become fatiguing or something, but it doesn't because the songs are just crafted so well that every song, sure, they may have similar vibes or similar sounds, but every song stands on its own, and every song is distinct. They don't like just run together. Your first time listen on the album, I won't lie, it might feel like some of this is kind of running together just because it's so energetic and it's so just uh, I, this is one of those albums that I'm going to be using that word energetic a lot because the energy here is just through the roof. Everything is just driving, and a big reason for that I think is with the electronic vibes, the keyboard, because it's grooving, man. It is really, really grooving. So by the time you're done with the album, it's like, oh Lord have mercy, what was this? I gotta go back in there. And so the more you listen to it, the more distinctive, all the songs sound and everything like that. So it's really, really cool how it's definitely not a one and done kind of album because you hear it and you want to go back in and you want to get more out of it. And there's a lot more in there to get out of it. So every time you listen to it, you're just getting more out of it, and that's really, really cool. So yeah, the keyboard is just pumping and popping with the electronic dance beats, and I'm a sucker for that because I love the early 2000s dance electronic music scene, and there's a lot of that in here. So I love that. But the guitars, don't really take a back seat because they also play a vital role in keeping that energy up and keeping that power up. And there's some great riffs in here, some really great riffs, some great rhythms that are created with the guitars, with the keyboard just going in the background. You get some good solos in here too, and the drums do a really great job of keeping that beat pumping, and the vocals are just really, really great. She has such a strong voice, and she's able to handle whatever a particular moment of a song needs. She's got a really powerful, strong voice for that driven kind of melodic power metal sound. But then she also can handle those sections that are more on the electronic side and really, just rise to the occasion and hit some of those higher notes that again, when there's so much happening and so many beats pumping, she's able to go in there and carry that vocally and really hit those melodies and really hammer them home so that the vocal melodies don't get lost with everything else going on. And so, I mean, there's a lot of really great catchy melodies, both vocally and musically. And when it's all combined, it's just quite the force, quite the force. And as soon as song one starts, Paradigm, uh, you know what you're in for because they just hit the ground running here, and it keeps things pumping. Track three, Devious Desire, is one of my favorites on the album because it's got such a cool just rhythm. It's got a really nice groove to it. Great vocal melody that's catchy and musically, like I said, great rhythm. Really nice groove that it kind of changes the pace. And that's another thing too, because some of these moments I didn't pick out the first time I listened to the album, but going back in, I noticed some of these moments more. And it's really cool because you have a lot of just high energy, pumping melodic power metal, electronic, going. But then you have moments like kind of Devious Desire is one of them where I feel like it breaks up the pace just a little bit. It keeps that momentum, but it, it just it just it just uh, it just helps break up the pace enough to keep things fresh. And then it goes right into Rage and Madness, which is one of the more just ripping songs as far as like guitar goes and stuff like that. If I'm not mistaken, this is one of the songs that it holds back a little bit more on the keyboard and the electronic, and the guitars take a little bit more of a forefront, more of a traditional melodic power metal kind of song. Um, so that's really cool too. But I mean, you hit the ground running again. Uh, let's see, Fading Rose is a wonderful song. Then you get Light Up the Sky, which was a single. Track 7, Horizon, is another one of my favorites that wasn't released as a single. This one is just beautiful. It's got a nice anthemic kind of feeling to it. And so the variety all throughout this album, Beneath the Surface, again, it's really, really cool. I can't overstate, because on the surface, like I said already a million times, but the first listen through, you're kind of on the surface level of this album, and you're trying to take everything in, and it's a lot. It really is a lot. So you're kind of just scratching the surface. But then when you go back in, you start to see the depth of the album, and the variety of the album, and all the different dynamics, and what they're doing throughout the album. So it's just really, really cool how they were able to do something like that, where on the surface level, you have a blast, and it's like, man, this thing was pumping a lot of power, a lot of energy. But then the more you listen to it, the deeper it goes, and the more you notice, the more you hear it, and then the more you can even appreciate it from uh, uh, the complexities, in there. Because on the surface, like I said, you may not notice the full depth and the complexities at play here in the individual songs, and just in how they were all arranged, and throughout the whole album, and just the whole dynamic of the album as a whole. But the more you listen to it, the more you pick up on all of that stuff. And so it was just it's a joy. It's a joy to keep listening to this thing, and appreciating it more and more for everything, all the nuance, and all that kind of stuff. And of course, you get track 8, Set Me on Fire, which is amazing. And track 10, Enchanted Island, is a really, really cool, beautifully melodic, great way to end the album, while still retaining the feeling and the vibe of the rest of the album, but it's also serving as a nice end cap, with, like I said, a gorgeous melody. And yeah, I mean, just a very solid album. I really, really enjoy it. And again, I mean, it's ripping. 10 tracks, 35 minutes, doesn't mess around. And every song, though, you can listen to any song on here basically for a quick dose of adrenaline, and pumping energy, and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, just a stellar, stellar electronic dance, melodic power metal album here that would be great for exercising, great for running, great, great at the gym, or just chilling. Like I'm sitting and doing my day job, working in accounting and finance and stuff, and I'm just sitting there, just and just doing crunching numbers and whatnot, but just rocking it out. So yeah, I'm really, really impressed. I really, really enjoy this album a lot. Check out any of the singles. If I had to recommend one song to get, if you're like, tell me one song to listen to determine if I want to hear the whole album or not, I would say just stick with the first single that they released for this thing, Set Me on Fire. That song's amazing, and it'll give you a great indication of what to expect on the album. And I can pretty much guarantee that if you listen to "Set Me on Fire," you're going to be like, "All right, I want to hear the whole album." So, really great stuff. I enjoyed it a lot. I cannot recommend this thing enough. And like I said, I had really high expectations, and they certainly met them here. So, really awesome stuff. Let me know in the comments down below if you've listened to the album already. What are your thoughts on it? What did you think? Or let me know, are you intrigued? Do you want to listen to the album? Let's talk about it all in the comments down below. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you all next time. Ranger out.